What happens if you get a more affordable snare drum and you're looking to try and get a better sound out of it? Do snare wires really make that much of a difference? Well, let's find out in this Snare Saturday video, where I'm gonna take the Ludwig Universal Beach snare drum and I will apply every snare wire that Canopus Drums has to offer for a 14-inch drum to see if snare wires really affect the sound. For those who might be unfamiliar with the channel, hi, welcome. My name is Nick Costa and I am a drummer from Philly, PA. And the recent Snare Saturday videos that I have been posting have been all about seeing if snare wires affect the sound of specific drums. So in this video, we're gonna continue the trend with more affordable snare drum options, this time being a wood snare drum, the Ludwig Universal Beach snare drum. Now, before we dive into this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell icon. That way you're notified of any additional content that I upload to the channel. Let's go ahead and talk about the specs of the Universal Beach snare drum. This drum is a 6.5 by 14, that's depth by diameter, 6-ply, 7.5 millimeter beach shell with an outer ply of sapelli wood. This drum is equipped with 10 double-sided tube lugs, 2.3 millimeter triple flange hoops on the top and the bottom, Ludwig's P88 eye throw-off, and P35 butt plate. Now for this video, the drum is outfitted with a Remo Ambassador X-coated head on the top and an Ambassador snare side head on the bottom. Now let's go ahead and talk about the specs of all of the snare wires from Canopus Drums. If you have been following the Snare Saturday series and have seen these videos where I am putting all of these on drums, you already know the rundown. But for those of you who don't, Canopus offers two different series, the Vintage series and the Backbeat series. And if I take a look, we have our Vintage here and our Backbeats over here. So if we get started with the Vintage line, there are 3 different models available. 2 of them are 20-strand configurations, like the 2 right here. You have a dry version, which is recommended for wood drums, and a chrome-plated version, which is recommended for metal drums. At least that's what is identified as on Canopus's website. Finally, you have a set of 16-strand snare wires because older drums, especially from the 60s and so, had snare wire strands that were a lot smaller than the ones that you see of today. Then, moving on to the other line, we have the Backbeat series. Once again, there are 2 different generic 20-strand models. You have a dry version and a chrome-plated version. Let me flip that around for you because the dry version is over here and the chrome plated is over there. Once again, dry recommended for wood and chrome plated recommended for metal. Finally, you have the wider configurations over here. You have the 30-strand configuration and a 42-strand as well. Fair warning, however, if you do prefer wider strand snare wires on your snare drum, just make sure that you have a wide enough snare bed for them to sit in. But if it's too narrow, you're gonna have some of those wires hanging over the snare bed and you'll get a lot of sympathetic buzz. In case you missed it, I was recently the guest on the Musician's Musician podcast with Nick Costa. And no, I'm not talking about me, Nick Costa. I'm talking about singer-songwriter Nick Costa from Los Angeles. And fun fact, there's more than 2 of us with the same name who are musicians. And being that he is a singer-songwriter / guitar player and I'm a drummer, what better artist to talk about than Wolfgang Van Halen, the mastermind behind Mammoth WVH, or Mammoth. We talk about both my career and Nick's career and just really dive into what it's like being a musician. So if you haven't seen it yet, you should check it out at the link in the description below. So just like every other Snare Saturday video where I put a bunch of different wires on one drum, it's gonna be the same rundown. I'm gonna have the drum set to one specific tuning, and then I will transition from one set of snare wires to the next. I will start out with the wires that came with the drum when I purchased it. Then I will move over to the Canopus Vintage series. I will start out with the 20-strand models first, going with the dry version. Then the chrome-plated version. Finally, I will wrap up with the 16 strand version. After that, I will move over to the Backbeat series, once again starting with the 220 strand models, the dry version first, and then the chrome plated version. Then I will wrap up with the wider configurations with the 30 and the 42 strand models. So, enough of me talking, let's dive in. So now that you've had the chance to hear this drum with 8 different snare wires, the ones that came with the drum from the Ludwig factory, and 7 different wires from Canopus drums, were you able to hear a difference? Also, which one was your favorite configuration? I would love to know, so let me know in the comment section below. And if you have any other additional questions on any of the snare wires featured in this video, maybe the gear that I am playing, or anything else, you can leave that in the comment section as well, and I will try my best to answer them. If you would like to get a set of one of the Canopus wires that are featured in this video for yourself, or even the snare wire belt that I use to connect the snares to the drum, I've put affiliate links to everything in the description below. Now, if you would like to see some of those earlier Snare Saturday videos where I do the same process with some other drums, I've put links to all of those videos in the description below as well. And if you would like to see the earlier Snare Saturday video where I am showcasing the Ludwig Universal Beach drum through a broader tuning range, I've put a link to that video in the description below as well. Finally, if you would like to see what this Snare Saturday series is all about, I've put a link to the playlist in the description below, and I'll also have it come up right here to make it a bit easier for you. Finally, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure that you give it a thumbs up. That not only makes it easier for others to find it, it is a free and easy way to support the channel. And that is it. Thank you so much for checking out this video on Do Snare Wires Affect the Sound of an Affordable Wood Snare Drum? And until next time, see you later.